On the phone with us right now is Dr. Ben Carson, presidential candidate in the middle of this race as well, focusing on South Carolina and Nevada that's coming up for Republicans. Doctor, always good to have you. Thanks for joining me.
Always good to be with you now.
You know, in this South Carolina poll, and I know these polls can be all over the map, but your support has slipped from what it was back in December from 15% to 9%. Does that worry you?
No, it doesn't actually. I'd be much more interested in the poll on Saturday and what happens there. You know, I think there's a lot of shifting going on. There are a lot of people who are undecided, and they're getting more chances. You know, I've been here for several days, getting out in front of lots of audiences. You know, venues where people are, you know, outside the door looking in, trying to get in there. And a lot of people who are saying to me, "We got your back. Don't worry about the polls." We'll see. You know, I'm not going to sweat it.
All right. Now, the one thing, the advantage that you've had is your campaign is sitting on a lot of cash. You keep coming off of month after month of some record fundraising numbers, but you do need to put up some good polling numbers, right? I mean, if you finish fourth, Doctor, in South Carolina, would you be disappointed? Do you think your donors might be disappointed?
Well, we would prefer to finish as high as possible. But, you know, we're going to be going on. There's no question about that because we'll be collecting delegates.
I'm sorry, just to be clear. So you have a disappointing finish. If you do, you're still going on. There's no hint of, you know.
Absolutely. Well, as I've said many times, you know, the great American pastime, baseball, it's a 9-inning game. You don't call the game after the third inning.
Okay, I understand that analogy.
At least I don't call it that.
But let me step back here, and it is amazing in South Carolina where the evangelical vote is important, not maybe as important as it, let's say, was in Iowa, but despite all the bashing that Donald Trump has done against the Bushes and the Bush family, and that family, despite what you say about individual members of the family, still very popular in South Carolina, and that he still leads in South Carolina. Does that surprise you?
Well, it just says that, you know, our country is shifting to a degree that, you know, sometimes people's faith is not, you know, the predominant thing in their lives. And, you know, there are a lot of people who are very frightened about the future for their children. They're frightened about terrorism. And, you know, those things sometimes can take precedence over their faith.
Do you think that anger trumps any religious concerns then? In other words, whatever doubts they might have about any of the candidates, the fact that they might shake things up in Washington is what will be the theme?
Well, I think a lot of people are so frightened at this stage of the game that they're willing to overlook almost anything that will, as long as they feel some comfort. And, you know, Donald Trump does give people comfort because they equate, you know, boisterousness and bravado with strength and ability.
Seems like you're saying you do not.
No, I don't. I actually think just the opposite, quite frankly. Having been somebody who used to, you know, get angry, who used to be boisterous, I've learned that real strength is being able to control yourself and control the environment around you.
Do you think, though, Doctor, when I don't want to get focused on other candidates, but it has become a legal dust-up between Donald Trump and Senator Ted Cruz, Donald Trump's threatening lawsuits if Ted Cruz continues to run ads that by and large feature just Donald Trump's own words, talking in the past about when he was pro-choice, or talking in the past about, we're going to get into this later in the show, about the Iraq war. Maybe he wasn't as rabidly against it as was first thought to be the case. What do you make of that, and whether it's fair use on the part of Senator Cruz to bring that to people's attention, or to Donald Trump's point of view, that that's just out of bounds?
Well, you know, to me, the sad thing is that we even wind up talking about that when you look at our country and you look at the condition that we're in right now, and you look at the fiscal irresponsibility and how that threatens the future for our posterity, how it threatens the retirement of people who are here now. You look at our failure to really spell out how we're going to get rid of ISIS. We're not talking about how we're going to fix our infrastructure, including our electrical grid, how we're going to promote innovation, the very thing that made America into a great nation. Instead, we sit around and call each other names, call each other liars. I mean, it's as I've said before, it's like Rome. You know, the city's burning down, and everybody wants to go to the Colosseum.
Well, to that point, Doctor, as you're speaking here, we're getting some rather harsh words from no less than Pope Francis, suggesting, this is via the New York Times, that Donald Trump is, quoting the pontiff, not Christian. The Pope saying that Mr. Trump's campaign promises to deport more immigrants. Well, it's a little harsh. What do you make of that?
Again, I mean, this is how bad it's gotten. Even the Pope jumps into it. I mean, it would be hilarious if it weren't so sad. And you know, we've seen this before in history, where people get distracted and don't look at what's important.
Well, do you agree with the Pope? Do you agree with the Pope, at least on that? I mean, that Donald Trump's attacks.
No, I don't.
You don't agree with that. So you take Trump over the Pope.
I'm not going to judge Donald Trump in terms of whether he's a Christian or not.
Yeah.
You know, certainly some of the things that he does may not be suggestive of Christianity. But then again, all of us have weaknesses and shortcomings. That's what it's all about.
Okay. That's kind of like the Pope. Who are you to judge, right? That was a very deft handling of that question. Doctor, thank you very
Indeed.
much.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Good talking to you. Dr. Ben Carson.